On the morning of September 3rd, 1260, the first pale rays touched the Jezreel Valley, illuminating a landscape poised between calm and chaos. Mist clings to the grass. The earth is cool beneath iron-shod hooves. Somewhere in the distance, metal creaks softly as men shift their weight, careful not to speak. A Mamluk commander sits his horse on a slight rise above the plain, eyes fixed on the narrow approaches ahead. He tastes dust in the back of his throat. The air smells of trampled grass, leather, and sweat held in check by discipline. This valley has heard armies pass before, but never like the one that is coming. He knows the name whispered across continents. Mongols, cities burned so thoroughly that grass no longer grows where walls once stood. Kings executed in their tents, armies shattered in open field, their flight turning into legend and warning. The sun lifts higher, revealing the valley's shape, gentle slopes, shallow folds in the land, ridgelines that hide as much as they reveal. To the untrained eye, it looks open. To those who studied it in silence, it is a trap waiting to close. Behind him, thousands wait without banners raised, no war cries, no drums. Only the slow breathing of horses and the faint clink of mail. These men were once bought and sold. Today they stand between the Mongols and the rest of the world. Far off, a tremor moves through the ground. At first it is barely felt, more imagined than real. Then it grows steadier. Hooves, many of them. The sound of an army that has never been forced to doubt itself. The commander tightens his grip on the reins. This is the moment history has been racing toward. In this quiet valley, beneath a rising sun, the undefeated are about to discover that the earth itself can turn against them. The sound of those hooves carries more than men. It carries memory. For a generation, the Mongols have moved like a storm across the known world, faster than rumor, deadlier than fear itself. They came first from the grasslands beyond the horizon, where the sky feels endless and the horse is an extension of the body. Then they kept coming, westward, always westward, until distance itself seemed to give up. Cities that resisted were erased, not conquered, erased. Walls pulled down stone by stone, streets choked with the dead, survivors driven away so thoroughly that silence replaced their names. Those who surrendered early were spared. Those who hesitated became examples. Armies learned this lesson too late. Heavy cavalry shattered by arrows that fell like rain. Infantry encircled, cut apart, hunted as they ran. Commanders killed where they stood, their heads lifted on spears so the next city would understand the price of defiance. The Mongols did not fight as others fought. They flowed, they withdrew to draw pursuit, then turned like a blade. They struck supply lines, spread terror ahead of them, and let fear do half their work before the first arrow was loosed. By the time battle was joined, victory often felt inevitable. From the ruins of Baghdad to the plains of Syria, the pattern repeated itself. The world adjusted to a new truth, resistance delayed the end, submission survived it. Even great powers bent their knees. Even ancient capitals fell silent. And now that shadow stretches into this valley. The men waiting at Ain Jalut know what follows defeat. They have heard the stories. They have seen the refugees. They understand that the Mongols do not simply win, they finish things. The hooves grow louder, the shadow deepens. And for the first time in decades, that shadow is about to meet something that does not flee. Far to the south, beyond the dust and grass of Ain Jalut, Egypt has already made its choice. In Cairo, the streets still hum with trade and prayer, but beneath the familiar rhythms lies a tightening silence. News has arrived faster than caravans ever did, of Baghdad drowned in blood, of Damascus taken, of rulers who hesitated and vanished from history. Everyone knows what is coming. The question is no longer if, but from where. Egypt is not ruled by ancient kings or sacred bloodlines. It is ruled by men who were once purchased, trained, broken, and reforged. The Mamluks, soldiers raised from boyhood to fight, taught loyalty not to land, but to one another and to the sword in their hands. Their rise to power has been sudden, uneasy, and contested at every turn. The Sultan's throne is still warm from recent violence. Trust is fragile, ambition hangs in the air like heat. Yet the Mongols leave no room for division. They have sent their message already, carried by envoys who speak with the confidence of executioners. Submit or be destroyed. For days the court weighs the unthinkable. Submission would preserve lives, at least for a time. Resistance would invite annihilation. Everyone understands what defiance has cost others, but the Mamluks also understand something else. They are soldiers without homelands to retreat to. There is no mountain refuge, no distant province, no safe surrender. If Egypt bends, they will be discarded as others have been. If they fight and lose, they will die, but on their feet. So the envoys are dismissed. The road north is chosen. Orders ripple through the barracks and across the Nile Delta. Horses are gathered. Weapons are checked and rechecked. Men who have spent their lives preparing for battle finally see the shape of the one that will decide everything. Egypt does not march north in confidence. It marches because there is no other direction left. They assemble not as a nation, but as a brotherhood of survivors. The Mamluk commanders are men shaped by violence long before they ever held authority. Taken young from distant lands, stripped of names and kin, they were taught obedience through pain and mastery through repetition. Horse, bow, blade, again and again, until instinct replaced thought. Freedom came only after usefulness was proven. Now they lead. Their armor is scarred, their faces weathered by sun and campaign. Some carry old rivalries like hidden knives, others have spilled blood together and trust nothing else so completely. Ambition still smolders among them. Every victory in the Mamluk world creates another contender. But here, at the edge of catastrophe, ambition bends to necessity. They know the Mongols are better riders, faster, feared for good reason. But they also know war is not won by terror alone. Discipline matters, timing matters, ground matters, and above all, unity, held just long enough, can change the balance of fate. There are no speeches about destiny, no promises of glory. Orders are given quietly, precisely, passed from mouth to mouth like a held breath. Every man understands his place. Every movement has been rehearsed until it feels ordinary. These soldiers do not imagine victory as triumph. They imagine it as survival. They stand because they must, because behind them lies Cairo, the Nile, and a world that still believes the Mongols cannot be stopped. As the sun climbs higher over Ain Jalut, the Mamluks wait, still, disciplined, resolute, knowing that when the first arrow flies, there will be no second chance and no retreat worth taking. Across the valley, the Mongols come on without haste. Their column moves with the easy precision of men who expect the ground to yield beneath them. Armor is lighter here, built for speed and endurance. Bows are checked, strings kept dry, quivers full. Horses, small, tough, tireless, fan out as they advance, already thinking in circles and feints. These are not the full hosts of the great Khan. They do not need to be. What stands at Ain Jalut is a veteran force, hardened in Persia and Syria, led by commanders who have watched stronger armies collapse in panic. To them, this valley is just another field, and the Mamluks just another obstacle. They have been told resistance is coming, that Egypt has chosen war. It is met with faint amusement. Others chose war too, Baghdad, Aleppo, Damascus. Their names now serve as warnings, not allies. The Mongol way has never failed them. Strike fast, draw the enemy out, break formation, destroy command. Let fear do the rest. They expect pursuit to follow retreat, as it always does. They expect their enemy to want victory too badly, to reach too far to lose control. There is no sense of doom among them, no caution sharpened by doubt. The world has taught them that they are its masters, that battles bend to their habits and enemies repeat the same mistakes. As they descend toward the center of the valley, dust rising around their horses, the Mongols do not see a trap. They see an ending already written, and they ride forward to claim it. Ain Jalut does not reveal itself all at once. From the Mongol approach, the valley seems open, almost generous, a wide basin of grass and earth, sloping gently, inviting speed. There are no towering walls, no rivers to force a crossing, no obvious choke points demanding caution. It looks like ground made for cavalry. Ground the Mongols have mastered better than any force alive. But the land has been studied, measured, remembered. Low ridges run like shallow scars across the valley floor, breaking lines of sight at just the wrong moments. Dry stream beds cut the earth, invisible at a distance, capable of swallowing horses at full gallop. Hills rise where the ground folds inward, concealing what waits behind them until it is too late to turn. The Mamluks know these shapes as men know their own scars. They have ridden this ground in silence, at dawn and dusk, marking where dust lingers and where sound carries. They have placed men where the earth will hide them, where shadows stretch long and movement disappears. Nothing here is accidental. The spacing of units, the direction of retreat, the ground chosen to give way, and the ground chosen to hold. The valley is not a backdrop, it is part of the plan. As the Mongols advance, their formations stretch and flow, adapting naturally to the terrain, unaware that the terrain itself has already taken sides. Every step forward narrows their options. Every gallop carries them deeper into a space shaped for reversal. Ain Jalut waits, patient and silent, ready to do what armies alone cannot. Turn confidence into confusion, speed into vulnerability, and motion into capture. The first arrows cut the air without warning. They rise in shallow arcs, dark against the brightening sky, then fall among the Mongol vanguard with a sharp, metallic hiss. Horses scream. Men shout orders that are instantly swallowed by movement. The valley, so quiet moments before, erupts into noise. The Mamluks advance to meet them. They do not charge wildly. They move in controlled bursts, loosing volleys, then pulling back, their horses pivoting with practiced ease. Dust lifts in thick clouds, blurring distance and intention. Steel flashes. Arrows strike shields and mail, some finding flesh. Then the line begins to give. At first it is subtle, a thinning here, a staggered withdrawal there. The Mamluk front bends, losing cohesion, men turning their mounts as if the pressure is too great. Signals pass quickly, but from a distance they look like confusion. The Mongols respond instantly, as they always have. Horns sound. The units surge forward, spreading wide, pouring through the opening. This is the moment they have trained for, the enemy retreating, discipline unraveling, victory accelerating. The Mamluks ride faster now, backs turned, formations dissolving into what looks like flight. Arrows snap past them as the Mongols press closer, closing the gap, hungry to finish what has begun. Momentum shifts, the chase is on. And in the rising dust of Ain Jalut, the undefeated do exactly what they have been taught to do: pursue, press, and believe the battle is already theirs. The horns sound again, but this time not from the Mongol line. From the ridges and folds of the valley, their call cuts through the dust, deep and sudden, rolling like thunder across the field. For a heartbeat, no one understands what it means. Then the ground itself seems to move. Mamluk cavalry bursts from concealment on both flanks, banners snapping into view where there had been only empty earth moments before. Horses surge downhill, fresh and fast, their riders locked into tight formation. Arrows pour outward, not in scattered volleys, but in crushing waves aimed at exposed sides and rear. The Mongol advance stutters. Those in front realize first that the chase has gone too far. They rein in hard, trying to turn, but the space they need is gone. Units collide, commands overlap. The dust that once hid the retreat now blinds the pursuit. From the front, the Mamluk line stops running. It pivots as one, wheels around and drives back into the enemy with sudden, brutal force. Lances strike, blades meet at arm's length. The rhythm of the battle changes instantly, from motion to impact, from pursuit to entrapment. The Mongols fight back fiercely as they always have, but the flow is broken. Their formations are compressed, their speed stolen by the very ground they rushed across. Signals are missed. Orders arrive too late, or not at all. In the space of minutes, certainty collapses. Ain Jalut closes in, and the trap, long prepared, carefully hidden, finally snaps shut. Amid the chaos, a figure rises above the rest. A Mongol commander, tall, armored in layers of silk and iron, rides forward, trying to rally his scattered units. His voice cuts through the dust, sharp and commanding, a force meant to bend the battlefield to his will. But fate has already shifted. A Mamluk archer, hidden in the folds of the valley, releases a single arrow. It finds its mark. Not a horse, not a shield, but the heart of command. The horse stumbles, The rider crashes to the earth. For the Mongols, it is more than a loss, it is an unraveling. Shock spreads first through the immediate ranks, then ripples outward. Units falter, some turning back in confusion, others halting mid-charge as uncertainty grips them for the first time in decades. Without their leader, coordination collapses. The patterns that had carried the Mongols to victories across continents fail. Arrows intended for retreating enemies strike comrades. Cavalry crashes into infantry. The rhythm of conquest, the dance of dominance they had mastered, is gone. The Mamluks press relentlessly, driving wedges into the broken line. Every strike is precise, born of discipline and planning. Momentum, once theirs, now belongs to the defenders. In the midst of dust, blood, and steel, a simple truth emerges. No army, however legendary, can survive the loss of its heart. Ain Jalut's field has claimed its first decisive life, and with it, the myth of Mongol invincibility begins to crumble. The Mongol line falters, then splits. Confusion becomes fear, and fear becomes flight. Horses skid across churned earth, hooves tearing furrows into the valley floor. Riders shout, trying to rally men who can no longer hear them over the clatter, the screams, the pounding of panic. They turn, not in a controlled withdrawal, but in a desperate retreat. Arrows rain from the flanks. Hidden Mamluk squadrons charge down the slopes, cutting off escape, forcing the once feared horde into narrow corridors of death. Dust swirls thick and choking, masking direction and amplifying terror. For decades, Mongols had never been forced backward like this. Their victories had always been total, decisive, and fast. Yet here, on this narrow plain in Palestine, they stumble, constrained by terrain they could not master, attacked by an enemy they underestimated. Commanders shout orders that cannot reach every unit, horses and riders collide. In armies trained to flow, as one, now break into isolated fragments. Some Mongols die where they stand, others flee blindly, leaving the wounded to the valley. On the ridges above, Mamluk commanders watch their trap bear fruit. They do not cheer. There is no need. The moment itself is victory, quiet, terrifying, complete. The Mongols withdraw, not routed in shame, not annihilated, but defeated in a way they have never imagined. The world they thought unbreakable has resisted them. The earth, the men, and the plan of one army have all conspired to make the impossible real. Ain Jalut, for a single day, stands as proof that even the greatest storm can be stopped. When the dust finally settles, Ain Jalut is quiet again, though the silence is heavy with the echoes of what just occurred. The valley floor is scarred with the remnants of battle. Shattered weapons, fallen horses, bodies that will not rise. The air is thick with smoke, blood, and the faint metallic tang of victory wrested from fate. The Mamluks do not celebrate. Their faces are grim, eyes still scanning the horizon. They have survived what countless armies believed impossible, but survival here is only the beginning. They know that history will take time to catch up to this day, to understand that a line has been drawn, not with borders, but with steel and discipline, with courage and strategy. The Mongols retreat eastward, carrying with them the shock of defeat. Stories of their loss will spread faster than any messenger, shaking allies and enemies alike. For the first time, the legend of invincibility is pierced. The world, long convinced that nothing could halt the tide of conquest, now glimpses its limits. Ain Jalut becomes more than a battlefield, it becomes a hinge of history. It marks the boundary the Mongols will never cross, and the rise of a force born from discipline and resolve. It is a reminder that even the unstoppable can be stopped, that timing, terrain, and human courage can shape destiny as surely as swords and horses. And yet, as the sun sets over the Jezreel Valley, the story is not finished. Empires will rise and fall. Wars will rage beyond these hills. But the memory of Ain Jalut, the day the world held its breath and saw a legend broken, will endure. It whispers of possibility, of resistance, and of the fragile line that separates survival from annihilation. Here, in this quiet valley, history has shifted, and the future will never be the same.